Hey guys, in this video we're going to take a look at the cell life cycle of a cell and mitosis. Now, a cell cycle is the whole lifespan of a cycle. It's its whole process of growing and then dividing. You can see in this diagram that we have here, we have the entire life of a cell, okay, from growing all the way through cell division and creating two new cells. It's a cycle. It constantly happens over and over again. We have one cell that divides into two. Those cells continue to divide into two new cells and so forth. Now, in the cell cycle, we have cell division. And there are two parts to cell division. We have what we call mitosis, which is the actual division process where the parts inside the cell are getting ready to divide and moving apart as the cell starts to move apart. And then we have cytokinesis, which is where the cytoplasm in the cell divides and it pinches off and creates two new cells. Now, the first part of this is what we call interphase. Now, interphase is where the cell spends the majority of its life, okay? Interphase is the vast majority of our pie chart diagram here. Okay, all of this right here is interphase. Cell growth, DNA replication, and preparation for mitosis. That's all in the interphase process. Interphase is separate from mitosis. Mitosis is actually where the cell is dividing. Interphase is just the preparation process, the preparation for division. So here we have a whole cycle of the cell. And let's look at the different parts of interphase through mitosis and then cytokinesis. So we start off with interphase, which is right here. Again, the cell spending the majority of its life in interphase. It's preparing to divide and make two new cells. Right here at this point, okay, at this line is basically where mitosis starts. We have the first phase of mitosis, which is prophase. In prophase, you can see that the centrioles right here, they're starting to prepare for division. They're aligning themselves, going to opposite ends of the cell, preparing for division. The next phase is what we call metaphase. In metaphase, you can see that the chromosomes in the middle are starting to line up, okay, and they're getting ready to be pulled by those centrioles to opposite ends of the cell. Then we have anaphase. In anaphase, our chromosomes, they're on their way. They're on their way to opposite ends of the cell. You can even start to see a little bit of the cell pinching off right here in the middle, okay, as the cell starts to divide. And then we have telophase. In telophase, we have the chromosomes at each end. You can start to see the beginnings of the nucleus. Again, there's a more defined pinch in the middle, and we're starting to really start to see two new cells. And that's where mitosis stops. And then lastly, we have what we call cytokinesis, where the two cells pinch away, the cytoplasm cuts off and pinches away until we have two new cells. So again, let's go back and take another look at that. Again, interphase, that's where we spend the majority, 3/4 of the life of the cell preparing for division. Right here at this line is where we start the mitosis process. First phase being prophase, then the second being metaphase, then we have anaphase, and then lastly telophase, and then that's where mitosis stops, and we have lastly cytokinesis, where we have two complete separate new cells. So let's go ahead and look at some examples on all of this. And I've got two examples. I've got an animal cell example and a plant cell example. And you can see that we have the different phases, and you can start to see what they look like here in a real cell. And this is a real cell undergoing mitosis in division. Okay, so we have interphase, and then we have prophase, metaphase, anaphase, and telophase. So we've got interphase being the first step, interphase 1, prophase 2, metaphase 3, anaphase 4, and then telophase 5. Okay, and then lastly, we're back to our interphase process where we start all over again at 1. Okay, now let's go look and see what that looks like in a plant cell. Okay, and in a plant cell, you can see it's pretty much the same thing, where we start off with, again, interphase being 1, prophase being 2, metaphase 3, anaphase 4, telophase 5, and then back to interphase, which we're back to 1. And you can see that these are being plant cells, have that defined cell wall. Okay, looks very, very similar to animal cells. All right, so hopefully this helped you get a review of mitosis. Remember, mitosis being cell division, interphase being the preparation for division, mitosis the actual division process, and then lastly cytokinesis, where the two cells become from one parent cell to two daughter cells.